So if someone wants to experience the benefits of fasting, it's accessible to everybody. It doesn't cost anything. It's safe. It is a very powerful tool. Also, intermittent fasting is to create a caloric deficit. So if you eat within an 8-hour window, for example, you stop eating at 6 p.m. with dinner, and then reestablish eating again by noon the next day. If you shorten that eating window, you inadvertently decrease the amount of calories that you consume without even trying. And a lot of people are trying to get control of their glucose levels. Type 2 diabetes is off the charts. Obesity, people are just overeating. So this is a simple tool without even changing your diet. So one way to go about doing this first is to eat whatever you're eating and start on a 12-hour rotation. 12 hours of fasting, pretty easy to do, right? You stop eating at 6 o'clock and then or 8 p.m. or something like that, and then you abstain from food until the next morning. And then you can push that to 14 hours of fasting, then 16, then 18 hours of fasting. And then you can also gradually transition to eating a more low carbohydrate diet in the process. So by eating low carbohydrate diet or a ketogenic diet, that actually makes fasting much easier because you have less fluctuations in glucose and also the hormones that will trigger cravings over time. So a simple way that your listeners can, start getting the benefits of fasting is just try very initially, if they're not doing it already, fasting for 12 hours and eating within a 12-hour window. And for the first week and the second week, they might start dropping sugar and starches from their diet and start eating a low carbohydrate diet during that 12-hour window. And then they can start pushing that to 14 hours of fasting and 10 hours of eating, right? And then eventually work to the community, and even research scientists have kind of settled on this 8-hour eating window and 16 hours of fasting. So the literature actually supports that this is a very powerful tool for, weight loss, not only weight loss, enhancing insulin sensitivity, reducing glycemic variability, stuff like that, and managing a lot of chronic disorders. So that would be a strategy that your listeners.
So you're saying basically during this intermittent fasting, so there's no, are they going to be experiencing any spikes in glucose? Like this blood sugar levels are going to spike up because the body's used to craving something during that 12-hour time. So there's a little bit of challenges there that they kind of, and definitely not any, definitely metabolic, but mental challenges that they have to go through within that, probably that first week through that 12-hour challenges.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain like some generalized challenges that they would probably have to face to go through this? This is dedicated, even the first challenge of it being about 12 hours is, you sleep, hopefully you sleep, 6, 7, 8 hours sleep. So it kind of eliminates some of those hours.
And Chris, that brings up a great point because, I in the few fasts that I've done, I've actually gotten to a position where I think, I'm going to go out with a bang, and then I'm going to start my extended fast. And that first day is miserable. It's like almost like that craving, versus if I start that fast the night before with a more balanced meal or less carbohydrates, then it's a little bit easier that first day.
Mm-hmm. And, it's really important to mention that the more you do it, the easier it gets and the more benefits you derive from it over time. So your first fast is usually really hard for most people. We're all familiar, or most of your listeners are, with working out. You put 2 years of training behind your belt and you work up to like a 300-pound bench press, and you take 2 months off and you might be back down to 225, but you can get back up to 300 really quick, in a couple weeks. The same thing happens with your metabolism. So we're just starting to realize this now. So with muscle, we call it muscle memory.
I was about to say,
quickly get back to that prior level. When you train your body to be fat adapted or to sort of transition to to be able to more or less embrace this fasted state, the body essentially knows what to do. And what you're doing is you're opening up metabolic pathways that when you initiate another fast, those enzyme systems, those metabolic pathways have already been upregulated. And it actually comes back down to an epigenetic. When we talk about when we fast, we actually initiate or activate an epigenetic program, and the genes in our body are actually activated in a way that it upregulates the metabolic machinery that's associated with fasting. For example, maintaining blood glucose, hormonal control, ketone levels. All these things quickly become optimized once you do a couple fasts. So I think that's really important to recognize. I mean, we always knew this happened, but now experimentally we know why it's
You see
happening.
the proof.
Yeah. Yep.